All right, guys, today we're going to go over, it's going to be a quick overview of the client database just to get you familiar with navigating the client database. This is, I would call it your meat and potatoes. This is where you're going to spend most of your time in the Essential Studio Manager. So to get here, you're going to go to Clients in the left navigation bar and then View Clients. And you'll see this screen. I already have a client added. When you first go here, you won't have one and you'll have to add one. But so to get started, the first thing you want to do is add a client. And then here you can enter their details and then click submit and it'll add them here. And then there's a search bar. You can search, say you have 50 clients and you need to find a specific client instead of scrolling through. You can search and it'll pull up that client. If you're just getting started and you're coming from another platform and you have a bunch of clients that you need to input, but you don't want to do it manually, you can email me the file. It's got to be either a CSV or an Excel sheet, and I can import all that information for you so you don't have to manually do it. You can just email it to me at support@essentialstudiomanager.com, and I'll get those added for you. So the first thing we're going to go over here is with your client. So you have a couple different options here. So here is your add a checklist button. So when you click that, it brings this up. And if you've already created a checklist, they will display here and you can click it and you can add a checklist to a client. I already have one added. And once you do that, it'll display here. And so this is my checklist for this client and it's 0% complete. If I come here and I check something off and I click submit, there's only one item. The status will change, so it's 100% complete now. The envelope button, this is how you can email your clients. Anytime that you email a client through here, you can track that email, and we'll go over that in a second. But if you click this, you have the ability to choose a template. I've already chosen mine, and then you also have the ability to choose a session. So any session that you booked with the client that you're currently on will display here. So you can click that, and then when you do that, you'll see the session data tokens appear, and now I can use that information in this template. And then you can edit a client, and then you can also delete a client. Now, one thing I did want to go over is this archive client feature. If you have, say you have a client that you haven't done photos for in a while and you don't really want them in your client database, this is a good way to keep it, like declutter it. So you can archive the client. It'll push them to the archive section and they'll be out of your client database and out of the way. Now they're not deleted. You can go to the archive section and bring them back really easily. But that's just an option that we've added. All right, to see all your data about your client, you're just gonna click anywhere in the row, and then their information is gonna pop up here. The first thing we're gonna start with here is their image. If you want to upload an image, you just click the image, and an upload form will appear. You just choose your file, and it'll upload. And then we have a bunch of different options here. So we have book session. Here is how you're going to book a session for your client. You'll enter your details, and then under the session tab, your book session will show just like this. And I'll go over each one of these tabs in a minute. And then you have add questionnaire. Same thing. You're just going to choose a questionnaire, and then you can choose a message. It no longer automatically emails them. You have to manually do it. And again, I'll go over that in a second. You can add a note. You can add a contract. Here you're going to choose a template. And then you'll click submit, and then it'll add that contract under the contract tab. You can upload documents. You can create a task specific to a client, and you can create an invoice. And when you click your template, the invoice details are going to show. And then you can add charges. You can add as many as you need to. And then you can also add discounts, and then you click submit and it'll create an invoice and add it to the invoices tab. So now I'm going to go over each one of these tabs. Here in the session tab, you have your information, and then you can view some more information about this session. We didn't want to cram it all in to this one table, so when you click this, it just has some more information like the session amount, the location, the package that they've chosen, and so forth. You can edit the session, and then you can view session payments that have been made. So for instance, this client has paid these payments for this session, and you can view those here, and then you can also delete the session. Payments are any incomes that have been entered for this client. They will display under this tab. You can edit, you can delete. If you create an invoice and you have Stripe set up and your client pays that invoice, it'll automatically create an income and show up here underneath the payments tab. Your invoices. So, you have your information here. Once it's marked paid, the status will go from pending to paid. You can view your invoice. You can edit. And you can delete. Now, when you edit, you have this paid option, and then you have send receipt. So you can mark it as paid, check this, it'll mark it as paid. So when you mark it as paid, it's going to check if there's a remaining balance. If there's a remaining balance, it's going to generate that income. So say it's $100, it'll generate that income and automatically add it. So you don't have to manually do that. And then click send receipt. It'll send a receipt with that. Now this link here. So what we used to do is when you would click preview down here at the bottom, there was a send invoice button. But we got rid of that because that required you to do that for everything. So for instance, if I want to send an invoice, I'd have to click this, send it. If I wanted to send a questionnaire, same thing. So I would have to send my client, say, 3 or 4 different emails. So we added this link so that you can click it and it'll automatically copy it, and you can include it in your email template. Something like this. Save. Now the link is in there, and I can do this with my questionnaires, and I can do this with my contracts. So that way it's all in one email as opposed to sending multiple emails. It's just a way to consolidate everything. Questionnaires tab. Let's go ahead and add a questionnaire. All right, you see now I have a questionnaire, and you'll see the link. This link again, you click it, automatically copies it, and you can include it in an email. Once the questionnaire is answered, this will change to yes, and then a date will populate here for when it was answered. Tasks, again, you can create a task, and then those tasks will show up here underneath this client. Notes, there are automated notes that auto-populate in here, like if you created a contract or if you created email, or so there's some automated notes, and then you can manually add notes to this section also for your clients. Contracts, again, you have your information here. Anytime you send a contract to a client, it's going to automatically populate with the signature field. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, this one we just created. So I'm going to copy that. And you'll see right here, add client signature. So the client will click this, and then they'll add their signature, sign contract. Once a client has signed, then an add photographer signature or photographer signature button will appear, allowing you to be able to sign. You can view the contract. Also, once the photographer has signed, the contract is considered complete, um, and you'll get this download button. And if I click that, you'll see I have my contract, and then I have the photographer's signature, which it shows their name and then when it was signed and the time that it was signed, and then same thing with the photographer. And then we have this eyeball. The eyeball is the audit trail. So this gives you the user's IP address, the user's agent, the information when it was signed, who signed it. This way, if you ever go to court, you have this data that you can use to prove that so-and-so signed the contract. Here you have your documents. So anytime you upload a document, it'll display here under the client. And then here we have your emails, your trackable emails. So anytime you send a client an email through here, it'll display in the emails tab, and there's a pixel inside the email. So when the client opens it, it'll auto-populate this here with a date as to when they opened it and the time. So you can see that your client has opened your email. And then if you click the eyeball button, you can view your emails. And then obviously you can delete them. And the last thing, if you ever need to download all your clients, you can download to Excel here and just click this and it'll download everything to Excel for you. And that is it. Just wanted to give you guys a quick overview of the client database to get you familiar with it so that it makes it a little bit easier whenever you navigate. All right, guys, have a good day.